Hi, my name is Amber Gibson, and today I will be speaking about Emma Goldman. Emma Goldman was known as a rebel, an anarchist, a supporter of birth control and free speech, a lecturer, and a writer. How were her views accepted in society and in government officials? After fleeing Russia for America at the age of 16 with her sister, she settled in Rochester, New York. Full of optimism, she entered America, assuming she had escaped the barriers to woman's freedom. She soon discovered that working in the textile factory and living in Rochester did not greatly differ from Russia. At an event in Chicago, the Haymarket Square changed her political ideas, and she headed for a new life in New Haven and then in New York City. She moved to a commune with other Russian-born anarchists and soon became a prominent member of New York City's immigrant anarchist community. While living in the commune, she met Alexander Berkman. This meeting resulted in a lifelong companionship between the two. The two edited and published the journal Mother Earth, and she also authored Anarchism and Other Essays and the Social Significance of Modern Drama. Under the teachings of Johann Most, she became an impressive speaker. She lectured on hardship and toil as she described in her autobiography, freedom, the right to self-expression, and everybody's right to beautiful things. She was viewed as a free-thinking rebel woman by admirers and viewed by critics as an advocate of politically motivated murder and violent revolution. Of the many causes she fought for, 3 issues were of great importance. Emma Goldman and fellow anarchist Andrew Berkman became involved in the Homestead Strike in 1892. Amalgamated Iron and Steelworkers Union called out its members at Steel Homestead. Co-owner of Steel Homestead, Henry Frick employed 300 strikebreakers from the Pinkerton Detective Agency. The workers were brought in on armed barges. The strikers were waiting for them, and a battle ensued. The battle lasted a day, and in the end, 10 workers were killed and 60 were wounded before the governor obtained an order to place Homestead under martial law. Andrew Berkman was outraged and appalled by Mr. Frick's behavior and planned to assassinate Mr. Frick. Emma Goldman helped put the word out, believing this would be a dramatic gesture against capitalism. Mr. Berkman shot Mr. Frick 3 times and stabbed him twice. Mr. Frick survived and made a full recovery. Mr. Berkman was sentenced to 22 years in prison. Emma Goldman escaped indictment due to insufficient evidence to prove she was in collaboration with Mr. Berkman. In the 1890s, Emma Goldman became convicted that birth control was essential to a woman's sexual and economic freedom. Emma Goldman worked as a nurse and a midwife among poor immigrant workers on New York's Lower East Side. She saw firsthand the suffering of poor women who were unable to support their children. Women were resorting to dangerous self-induced abortions. In the 1910s, Emma Goldman smuggled contraceptive devices into the United States. Emma Goldman began lecturing on the right of the child not to be born and demanding that women's bodies be freed. Emma Goldman's extreme anarchist and freedom-fighting beliefs left her under the scrutiny of law enforcement for most of her adult life. She was jailed on several occasions and spent her last days in the United States on federal charges. Emma Goldman and Andrew Berkman helped launch No Conscription League to educate and encourage objection to World War I. The government had Goldman and Berkman arrested on charges of conspiracy against the draft. Goldman and Berkman were convicted and sentenced to 2 years in prison with the possibility of deportation upon release. After her release from prison on September 27, 1919, Goldman was rearrested. Goldman, along with Andrew Berkman and 247 other foreign-born radicals, were deported to the Soviet Union on December 21, 1919. In conclusion, Emma Goldman immigrated to America from Russia at the age of 16. By the age of 20, she was living in a commune with anarchists and spent the rest of her adult life promoting her beliefs on human rights and personal freedoms. After deportation to Russia in 1919, she spent several years wandering from country to country. Goldman passed away in 1940, and the U.S. Immigration and Naturalization Service allowed her to be readmitted to the U.S. for burial.